Hello again to everyone out there watching us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. This is another Domo Lunch and Learn. And I think on Tuesday, you may have thought you would be able to get rid of me, but that was not the case. What is it? The circumstances of my demise have been greatly exaggerated, as they like to say. I'm just struggling with a little bit of pneumonia, but I think I should be able to get through this live stream session with my good friend, Blake Woodward. We're excited to have you. But before we jump into all of the great things that Blake is going to talk about, let's talk about Domopalooza up there in the corner. Make sure if you haven't yet to register for our customer event, Multiply Your Impact is this year's theme. QR code accessible for that. If you have any questions after this session, check out our dojo, our community forums, where you can join all your peers in conversation. Now, Blake, I'd love to get to you, but there's one more thing I have to mention before we do. We have so many things going on. We have our first ever community virtual meetup on February 16th, where you'll learn about product, you'll get solutions, and you can network with your peers and other users of Domo. We have an all-star cast for this very first one of 2023. If you have not registered yet, and we have a lot of folks that have registered, hundreds upon hundreds of people that are coming to our first ever community virtual meetup. Check out that QR code. It will get you to the registration page, and we can count you in to see you next week. Man, that's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. I'm going to catch my breath a little bit, and then I'm going to introduce my good friend, Blake Woodward. Most of you probably know Blake by now, but Blake is going to talk about the Domo Stats Connector, which will allow you the freedom to explore how your team is using Domo. We are really excited because today we're going to talk about dashboards that can be deployed, reports that can be shown and given to teams by just a single click of the button. We'll also share how utilizing that data internally at Domo will keep a pulse on your users' data and instance. Blake, thank you so much for joining us for this live stream session. I can't wait to hear what you have for us today.
Of course. Thanks, Eddie. Happy to be here and happy to share a little bit of how we use Domo internally and how I think our customers can actually utilize this to make their Domo implementation smoother, more effective, and hopefully just a better experience overall. So
yeah, I love that. Blake, before we jump in, I switch over screens here. I didn't properly introduce you. How long have you been at Domo, and what exactly is your title here? And I know that you do great work over there on our education stuff and helping with university outreach and teaching some classes, but talk a little bit about some of the other stuff you do here.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because that's actually just kind of the side tangent of what I actually do.
Yeah.
I'm on the internal analytics team. So I've been at Domo for 7 years, which is just insane to me that I stuck around this long, but I love it. I love the product. I love the people, love the customers. But we use Domo internally, and we drink our own Kool-Aid, if you will, to do our own analysis. And I'm on the team that helps do that. So I'm inside of the product every day, just like our customers are, building out analysis for our executive team primarily. So
yeah, I love that. All right, so Blake's going to switch over his screen. I'm going to share that screen. And then as always, I get my ugly mug out of the way and let Blake work his magic. So thanks again, Blake. Appreciate you.
Of course. Yep. Thanks, Eddie. All right. So it's a little hard for me to tell if my screen's being shared, but I'm going to trust the processing. I'm going to trust Eddie here. Like he said, Domo Stats, it's essentially the way that you can get data on your data inside of Domo. And I want to dig into that. I want to show you how to do that, where the reports can be found, where the apps can be found, and how we use it here internally at Domo. I like the idea of these live streams because it's kind of like, there's corners of the product that you probably haven't shined a light on before. And hopefully this is shining a light on that little piece. And if you've used Domo Stats before, you probably already know that there's a ton of value that can be had in getting data in the form of data sets inside of your instance of Domo about your instance of Domo. There's just so much you can do with that because, of course, data is power and data is knowledge. And so hopefully if that corner of Domo hasn't been explored for you, this will kind of shine a light in that direction. And that's my hope as we go through this today together. So, first of all, just getting out of the way, what exactly is Domo Stats? Domo Stats is a connector to Domo. Just like our connector library, you can connect to all different types of data. Domo Stats connects right back into Domo. and it allows you to explore how your team's using Domo. And it actually consists of 35 individual reports. And it used to be, if you looked at this maybe a year or two ago, there's probably 10 reports, and now we're up to 35. And I know the product team is continuing to provide data to our customers on how they're using Domo because it's becoming ever more important. Kind of little side note here, this is a admin only, I guess not admin only feature, but only these connectors can only be deployed by Domo administrators. Once they're deployed and set up, they're just like any other data set or page inside of Domo. It can be shared out. They can be joined into data flows, into dashboards, and they can also have PDP applied to them. So once an administrator sets these up, they can be used by all as needed. So kind of a good starting point if you haven't used Domo Stats before is a bunch of dashboards that we've created and put inside and made available inside of the Domo App Store. They act as great starting points, good inspiration of the types of metrics you could actually build, the types of visuals, the ways you may want to visualize those metrics. And, or they could actually act as your end solution because they are fully built out dashboards. A lot of them come with data flows to kind of combine some of these reports together to give you more insight. But you can see right here, currently there are 4 that Domo has made available inside of the App Store. Number 1 being a people app. So if you use the org chart inside of Domo, this app is kind of supplemental to that information and to that data. Activity log app gives you information on every single action that's gone on inside of your instance. Data sets and data flows gives you obviously information about what's in the data warehouse, how data flows are running, optimization, and then projects and tasks. If you use that product inside of Domo, there's a great dashboard that can be deployed with a click of a button available to you inside of the App Store. And here, just a little bit, I will show you exactly where to go to download those. So if you're not familiar with the App Store or the process of deploying these, I'll show you here in just a little bit. But before I do that, I'd like to read off, and I apologize here. I might lose a couple people here, but I'm going to read all these off because there might be people actually just listening and maybe not watching. But these are all the reports that you can actually pull. So if you use any of these pieces of the product, which I'm sure most of you use, at least half of these, and you've wondered, I'd like to get more information about this piece of the product. That's what Domo Stats is made for. So there's a data set in there around accounts with permissions, activity log, auto ML training jobs, beast modes used in cards, buzz, card data source, card pages, card permissions, data flow input data sources, data flow output data sources, data flows history, data set access, data set tags, data sets execution error, data sets history, ML interference jobs, mobile activity, OKR key results if you're a Domo Goals customer, OKR objectives if you're a Domo Goals customer, pages with multiple owners, people, project stages, projects, publish event logs, task owners, tasks, user activity, variables used in beast modes, and workbench. So I apologize, that was a mouthful, but you can see all of these pieces of Domo, you can get more information about them. So how are variables being used in my instance? Getting a list of cards and permissions, people, project stages, mobile activity. All of these reports are designed to help you understand what's going on inside of Domo. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's dive in. I'm going to show you where you go in the App Store to download these. And I'm going to show you how in the connector library you can set up one of these 35 reports. So I'm going to flip over here to Chrome, and this is going to look weird for a second. Okay, hopefully that you didn't have the mirror effect for too long. But if you're inside of an instance of Domo, this is just a sample instance that I use to kind of demo out of. And if you're not familiar with where the App Store is, the first place you want to go is here in the App Store. Okay, so you click on this, and you can search pretty simply Domo Stats. Okay, you can see here we have 7 results. 4 of these are Domo built apps, and one's an app built by a partner of ours, Diacto. But you can see here the people app. If I click on this, it brings me to this page where I can read what this app will provide me. It, of course, mentions that this is for Domo administrators and major domos. It only takes a few minutes to set up. But if you click here, you can actually see what this app will give you with one click. So come into the App Store. If you're using Domo and you have users and you're plugged into the org chart, this is going to be a really good experience. If you're not utilizing that piece as much, you'll still get a user directory, but it might not have some of these details like departments. But you can see here, this app gives you a directory. You can see where people work. You can see the running total of users. You can obviously filter and sort all of this. You can see when users are most active. So who's not logging in, who's logging in the most, what times of day are people logging in, engagement. So who's actually building, what are the most active roles in my instance of Domo, who's creating the most cards and data sets. All of this can be found with within this instance or within this app of Domo. So if I come back here, you can see the activity log app. Same thing. I can come in here, get a view of what it is that this app will give me. This was obviously built a long time ago. If you're familiar with the old Domo stories with the kind of collapsible columns, I still like them for certain things. But you can see here, the activity log app looks at users, content, data, and like I said, this is a great springboard. You could look at these and say, hey, I like this metric, but I want to tweak it a little bit. Download this, the card's already there, the data's there, you can make those changes. Or you can just say, hey, this is sufficient for what I need to know about my users' content and data. Click the button and you can come back and have this dashboard that keeps you plugged in. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of these, but there's similar apps for data flows and for projects and tasks. Okay, so that's probably, if I were to recommend an introduction to Domo Stats, I would start here. If you're the type of person that maybe likes to get your hands a little bit more dirty, find the data in its raw format and do your own analysis, create your own data flows, which, this is Domo, so that's the fun part. Then I would recommend just setting up those reports as a connector, and I'll show you how to do that as well. So if you come up here, these Domo Stats data sets are set up like any other data set inside of Domo. You click on Add here, you go Add to Domo, and of course, it's a data set, and it's categorized as a connector, a cloud connector. So we click on that. Looks like I already filtered it, but you got your list here. All you got to do is search for Domo Stats. It's one word, not two. You click on that, and then just like any connector, you're going to be prompted to provide, the details, the scheduling, what it should be called in the data center. Ooh, this isn't liking me right now. Here we go. Okay. And you can see here, the first thing that we want to do is select our report. Right now it's pulling in those 35 reports that, let's see, that it makes available. And if you're curious what those reports are, you can click on this little question mark and you can see here the type of report and what it returns. But you can click here and you can see here's those 35 different things you can pull data on that I listed earlier. And you can see alerts, buzz, beast modes. Let's go ahead and just grab like alerts, for example. Okay, so we hit next. The next step is scheduling. By default, these can be run once a day. Okay, so you can tell it when you want it to run. If you have a need to run these more frequently, our Domo support team can put in a ticket with them and they'll speed these up for you. So I think you could, do it every hour or something or twice a day. Just reach out to Domo support if there is a need to get this data more than once a day. Click next. Then of course you give it a name. Okay, I've already gone through this process, so I'm just going to call this alerts 2, but I already loaded alerts 1 in there. So we're going to save and close. It's going to go talk to Domo and give me this data. But once the data set has run, oh, it already ran. Okay. It's in the data warehouse like any other data set. See, it is type Domo Stats. You can see who owns it, when it last ran, the name. But when I click into it, just like any other data set in Domo, I've got rows and columns that I can work with to build an analyzer, magic, SQL, views, whatever I want to do to this data to make it work for me, I can now do. I could join this into non-Domo Stats data sets and get value there. The data is really clean. It's something that the Domo team has taken extreme measures to make sure that all the IDs, between objects and owners, all tie out. So potentially you could take 4, 5, 6, 7 of these reports and kind of combine them into one. because you have really clean data. And all of the data includes batch information. So the ID, when it last ran, which will help you, potentially create trended cards and snapshots. So really good data here. With that said, I am going to hop back into PowerPoint. And I want to talk about how we have used Domo Stats here internally at Domo. So like Eddie said, I've been here for a while. The first kind of job I had here was on the major Domo team. And if you've been tuning into some of these other live streams, Tyson Lewis, I believe, has done a couple. He was also on that panel that Eddie just shared with Ben and Ian, I believe. Sorry if I got the name wrong there. But Tyson and I, we were so just into the world of governance, the administrative side of Domo. We wanted to know how people were using Domo, user behaviors, how our customers were using Domo, pinpoints they saw as administrators. And so we really started diving into Domo Stats, and we found a lot of value there. I'm going to share just a couple of screenshots of pages that we created, small collections of cards that were really easy to set up and really easy in principle, but provided a tremendous amount of value for us. And as we get on calls with customers, tremendous amount of value for our customers. And so the first one, and this was honestly, I think, one of the first things we built off of Domo Stats when it was made available to us. Geez, it's been a couple years now. But we call this dashboard Domo Today. And what Domo Today is a series of cards looking at different object types of things being created on a daily basis inside of our instance. So you can see we're tracking alerts, approvals, apps, beast modes, you name it. And then what we've done is we've gone ahead and set up alerts on certain cards. So inside of Domo, we don't want people adding new users without going through the proper approval process and through IT. And we've locked it down to a point where it's pretty hard for people to, but every once in a while, things go through, slip through the cracks. So we've set an alert up here to anytime a new user is added to let us know. Okay, and in talking to other customers, a lot of people, people manage Domo in different ways. Here at Domo, we're pretty Wild West about our data. We want our employees to have access to the product that they're selling, supporting, and so we want people to understand how to use it. So we have a lot of stuff being created all the time. So if we set up an alert on data flows and apps being built every day, our inbox would just be full of those. But as we've talked to other customers, a lot of people do Domo in a different way, and they maybe have a little bit more of a locked down approach to how they're managing their data. Just a handful of people can add certain different content types. And so some people will say, yeah, I actually want to know every time a data flow has been added into Domo or every time a new alert has been set up. And so you can set those alerts up and be notified. And then obviously as those come in, you can go talk to the person. You can see the name of the data flow they created just to make sure you have a pulse on what's going on. So this one can be built out of the box on the activity log, no data flows required. This is a really easy card to build. I guess really easy dashboard to build. This probably took us 20 minutes or so. Another one that we got a lot of value out of was this net new objects dashboard. And inside of Domo.Domo, which is our internal instance that we give access to all of our employees, we're really concerned with, not really concerned, but we're really interested in creation and deletion trends and kind of the behavior of content inside of Domo. And it's something we keep an eye on. And so we created this dashboard, which shows, by day, how much is being created, is the green bar there. And then the blue bar is how much is being removed from the instance. And then obviously the purple line here is the net new object line. And so you can see here, we obviously are building more than we're cleaning up inside of Domo.Domo. But this gives us an idea of trends, of kind of behavior around content. We use this to, sometimes we'll do like a campaign or a push to get content cleaned up. And we can come in here and watch the big dip in deletions, and we can watch the dip in creations. So this is a fun dashboard that also, this was created 100% off of the activity log with no data flows required. I'd say these cards were a little bit more, a little more advanced to create than the last ones, but they're still, pretty straightforward if you're familiar with Domo and Analyzer. All right, another one that we get a lot of value out of and is also built directly off of the activity log with no data flow is this card and page view. I that's kind of card and page view, card and page, card and page view dashboard. And what we've done is we've given the user some controls up here to be able to filter to an owner of content's name. So, I'm filtered here to myself, and I'm filtered to a specific page. And as I filter up here, really straightforward, I have a timeline of the number of views for that object that we're filtered to. So this particular page has 286 views. You can see they kind of picked up in January, dipped off, picked up again. Now it's kind of been sporadic, but I can see who the people are that are coming in to view this page. And so I've got a list here also. You can see I'm one of those people on this list, but other people as well are coming in. And so this gives us a sense, if we create, especially internally here, we create a new dashboard for an executive. We want to know that it's being used. And so usually, we'll make that, we'll deploy it, we'll make it live. The exec will have access and their department will have access. And we'll watch their behavior for a while. And if we're noticing, hey, this isn't getting a lot of views, this isn't getting a lot of attention, we can go back, revisit that page and say, hey, why isn't this providing value? Let's go ahead and change some things here. Let's have a conversation there. And then that allows, really us to refine and make that page better so that it can become sticky and become an important page at our organization. All right, last one that I'll talk about before I jump in and show you one live. This one is kind of built around the idea that content has a lifespan. So from the time that it's created to the last view, how much time passed between then and how much time has passed between now and that last view. And so, you can see I'm filtered to an employee here. You can see the number of cards that they have, and you can see kind of how long those cards were actually used from the time they were created to their last view. So like this one right here, executions by type, it had a really short lifespan, and it's also hasn't been viewed in 2 years. So we can go and tell this person, hey, you've got this card, it's been sitting around. Maybe the title is confusing people because they're looking for another one that's more up to date. It might be good to kind of remove this card, take it out of our instance of Domo because it might be causing more problems than good. You can see here some of these have longer lifespans and some have shorter. I believe this one required a data flow just to kind of get some of that set up. But once again, this was built off of the activity log data. All right, so the last example that I want to share is inside of our instance of Domo. And oh no. Darn it. Okay, I had to restart my Chrome. I'm just going to talk about it here. Sorry about that. So what this is a page called Your Domo Content. Okay, and so what have you created inside of Domo? Something we found is that certain users, especially users that are admins, they kind of lack visibility sometimes into what it is that they're creating and what they own, and also how that stuff is being viewed and used. So we created this page inside of Domo that tells people the number of pages, cards, data sets, and data flows they own, and it breaks it into 2 camps, active and inactive. And so you can see, I think we define active by having been viewed or interacted with in the last 3 months. Okay, so you can see this is filtered to me. I have 30 pages and 32% of those, so I guess that's 32% of all my pages, which is 30, are currently being viewed and have been viewed within the last 3 months. You can see the breakout here. Overall, 66% of what I've built inside of Domo.domo hasn't been viewed in 3 months. So that gives me a good opportunity to go in and, like I talked about, kind of reevaluate why is this data not being viewed, and what can I do to either make it better so it is viewed, or maybe just go ahead and clean it up. Breakdown of what I've created. I've created almost 2,000 cards that are currently kicking inside of Domo.domo, 600 data flows, 447 data sets, and 94 pages. And you can see over time when I created those things, which is kind of interesting. I didn't work here in 2014, but yeah, 2015, 2016 started building stuff. And then the next part of this, which unfortunately I wish I would have logged in. I don't want to make you watch me do my single sign-on identity, whole thing there. But there's a table below this, and the table is filterable, and it's kind of a line item of every single one of these things created. Every card, every data flow, every data set, and every page that I own. And then it breaks each card at an individual level, or each data flow at an individual level, into active and inactive. And then there's a link, takes me to that, and I can go ahead and clean that up or do what I want with it.
Hey, Blake.
So, yeah.
Real quick, I'm gonna because these are informal. I turned your screen off, so if you want to go in and sign in, so you can kind of show that if that's going to be enough time for you. If not, and you're like, this is going to take forever, which I don't think it will. So when you're ready, let me know. I can switch the screen back over. That's the beauty of these live streams. We can kind of go with the flow a little bit, and I'm more than happy to see if you can jump on real quick, and if you can, then we can show that off before we wrap things up.
Yeah, I'd like to. So let me just, I'm doing my Okta verify here. So
okay.
Just give me 1 second. Yeah, you said it was casual. I am wearing sweats, so I figured that part was casual, but the part of me using my password to log in, I don't know if we're that casual on screen.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just 1 second. Gotta love single sign-on.
Yeah, it's the best.
And all right, I'm in. Yep, I'm in.
Here we go. You're back in action.
All right, so I'm assuming you can all see my screen now. Thanks, Eddie, for that. It's more fun to show it inside of Domo rather than just me showing a screenshot. So here's that top part that I just talked about. But as I scroll down here, you can see this Explore Your Content section. And like I was saying, each row is content that you own, and it's filterable. So I can come in here, click on this page icon. It filters to just the pages I own, the name of it, when I created it. So it kind of has that lifespan baked into this as well. What the last action was. So like this one right here. This one, App Store analysis. I created it in 2019. The most recent action was on June 13th. So it only had 49-day life there, which is interesting. But then I, of course, can come in and show only inactive content. I can show active content. And then what we've done is you'll notice this has actually been shared out with everyone in our internal instance here. And you'll notice the PDP sign. So we've turned PDP on this data set. So when someone comes to this page, they're just going to see exactly what it is that they own inside of Domo. And then you can link to it. And I've heard a lot of people use this page heavily, especially those that aren't admins and don't have access to the bulk admin tools.
Hey, Blake.
Yeah.
We had a comment come in from YouTube. Our good friend Scott Thompson says he loves this. I really like the report card. Where does the GPA come from?
That's a great question. And I wasn't sure we'd have time, but I'll hit it since Scott asked. The GPA is kind of, let me flip over here to this page. It's something that we've created. Okay, so it doesn't come from Domo. But what we've done, and let me turn on PDP, is we've given people grades based on certain criteria inside of Domo. And so things like you have a lot of cards built on sample data. That's probably not what we actually want in our instance. And so we're going to ding you if you have a lot. You're going to get a lower grade. If you have less sample data cards, we're going to give you a higher grade. Duplicated cards that haven't been viewed in 2 years, data flows that aren't running, data sets with an error status, data sets not run over 2 years, data set sample and test, and data set tagged delete. So all of these are criteria we're looking at 100% using Domo Stats as the engine behind all of this. We're putting people on a distribution. We're giving them a grade, and then we're giving them the chance to come down and actually boost their GPA with these cards. So I'm looking at this. You guys are seeing the dirty laundry. I've got a 2.17 GPA. I can come down here, and I can say, well, I've got 6 duplicate cards. The average user has 12. I'm actually doing pretty good. But if I wanted to get that up to an A+, I can come in, clean up these cards, or change the name, and then that'll jump my GPA up higher. Cards not viewed in 2 years, that's really dinging me. I've got 500. I'm going to come in, clean those up, make them relevant, make them important to get that GPA up. And that's where that's what this page is. And so that was a great question, Scott.
Yeah, no, thanks for being vulnerable there. He didn't want to show that the GPA is not great on Blake Woodward's side, right?
It's really not. It's not. My school GPA was just a little bit better than that. So.
Oh man, that's so great. We also had a LinkedIn user comment. Going back to the card, very useful. Gives general overview of how these data cards are active, being used and viewed. Would like to know how you achieve that. Which I think you went over a little bit, but if you wanted to dive in a little bit deeper, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Those are, and again, if you
Yeah.
have comments, questions, suggestions, throw them in the comment box. We're more than happy to answer them as we go through.
Yeah, so just kind of an answer to that question, as far as the active and inactive, it was really just a decision we made, which was look at the most recent action date, and essentially do a date diff to now, and see if it's greater than 90. If it was greater than 90 days, then we're going to go ahead and say, you know, if it hasn't been viewed in over 90 days, it's inactive. If it's been viewed in the last 90 days, it's active. Obviously, depending on your criteria, you can set that up differently, but that's the way that we decided to do it. And I think we started with like 6 months, and we narrowed it down, and we found the sweet spot of 90 days. That's a great question.
Awesome. All right, Blake, if you want to start wrapping things up here, that was probably, I don't have any new questions, so I don't want to interrupt you any longer, let you finish up.
Well, hey, watch this. Wrapped up.
Oh man, that was so good.
That was it. So yeah, like that was what I wanted to hit on. Hopefully, this has been valuable. Hopefully, like I said, it shines a light on a corner of Domo you're not familiar with. It's really fun data to play with too. If you need a break from looking at, you know, like I'm looking at sales opportunities all day, and I'm looking at different metrics. This is fun data. So go in, jump in, play around with it for a bit. It's clean data. It's easy to join. You're not going to run into issues like that. Go ahead and play with it and figure out what's going on inside of your instance of Domo. So thank you, Eddie, and thank you everyone for listening to me talk for the last 15, 20 minutes.
Absolutely. And thank you everybody for being patient with me as I continue to work through a little bit of an illness. I probably sound a little funny. I've been trying to cough, and I'm sure I don't look the best, but appreciate everybody jumping on and giving us a shot here and letting Blake do all the work. This camera thing is always messing me up, doing all the work today and going over, you know, the Domo Stats Connector. This was super helpful. Lots of comments coming in, lots of suggestions. As always, you can email me. My email is on the screen. You can always connect you with Blake if you have further questions as we go through these. Appreciate everybody showing up. There's so many things happening. Tuesdays and Thursdays are always the days that we have these lunch and learns. They've been super productive. The audience has been great. We're doing our very first community virtual meetup next week. Make sure you're checking that out. And if you want to, just rewind to the beginning of the stream. There's a QR code. You can register immediately for that and get notified. Other than that, thank you again, Blake, for joining us. This was fantastic.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
All right, everybody. Until next time, we'll be back with another Lunch and Learn Tuesdays and Thursdays. See you soon.